Hello everyone, Pineaaronapple here with the start of a new run for the 8th Doctor in Big Finish with two new audio box sets. The first being the one we're looking at today, Audacity. And if this review is releasing today, just think of how long it'll be till I look at the Christmas box set, considering I'm not going to do two Doctor Who audios in a row. The reason this box set is called Audacity is that this set introduces a new character and companion, that being Lady Audacity Montague, played by Jay Griffiths, who has been in New Who and audio dramas before, as the unit operative Jack, but also as a few background characters. And perhaps we'll be getting a nice cameo at the end of this box set, or so I've been told. Now, why don't we start getting into Audacity with the Devouring? So we start the set off with the story The Devouring, written by Lisa McMullen, tasked with introducing us to Lady Audacity Montague. We get our first impression of her from a rather horny Prince Regent, and are greeted to some lovely interactions with her husband, Ignatius, or Iggy, played by one of my favourite Whoniverse actors, Joseph Milson, also known as Alan Jackson. She stares into the stars and makes a wish upon one. But as they say, as you stare into the abyss stares back.
You bite the peach bites back.
And something sees her from the stars. This being is the Devouring, played by Richard Reed, a reverse of the leader of the Fantastic Four, I guess. An interesting villain that seems to align well with Audacity's experience with men, comparing it to a male leering at her from across the ballroom.
There was a man once. I caught his eye across a tedious ballroom. I caught his eye, and he assumed he'd caught me.
This is done a little ham-fistedly, and the audio effects on its voice and explosions that it causes can be quite loud. Not in the general term, but in how jumbled and layered the sound is. But all around, I did find myself interested. Audacity herself in this story is introduced well. She's a strong character, if a bit too bitchy sometimes, like acting detested when interacting with relatives, or robbing those that attend her balls to feed and fund the poor, which is an interesting way to take this character that I don't think we've really seen a lot of in the wider Doctor Who universe. No one even bats an eye afterwards, so it must be a regular thing. Or maybe it was just normal back then. I mean, times have changed drastically. But this attitude has to be adapted, as those around her start to disappear into thin air. The Devouring is a creature of obsession, and it takes all those who touch its target and seek to own and consume them. When all those around have been taken, she joins the Doctor to follow the disappeared to the Devouring's ship, where we get some nice scenes as those who were taken interact with each other in the nothing space they're held in. We are told why she hasn't been taken already, and due to the genetic nature of the Devouring's way, the Doctor acts as mud in the waters, not allowing them to take Audacity while he's around. And it may drag on a little, but we get an excellent scene from Audacity as she offers herself up to the Devouring to free everyone else. Those who were taken are released, and the Doctor tells Iggy that Audacity will never return. But while this vagary is said, immediately after we learn she's alive, but she can't return home or the Devouring would notice, putting everyone in danger. So after a heartfelt goodbye to Iggy, she leaves with the Doctor to fly among the stars. Their interactions are still pretty good, and the episode ends on an alright monologue from Audacity, but the monologue didn't interest me much. So that was The Devouring. An interesting episode to say the least, but certainly a good introduction to our new companion, even if every moment with her wasn't perfect. The sound design had its problems, but nothing too harmful. The villain was an interesting premise, executed pretty well, and most, if not all, of the side characters were naturally written and well performed. So I'll give Audacity, Episode 1, The Devouring, written by Lisa McMullen, a 7 out of 10. The rest of this box set is the two-part story, The Great Cyber War by Tim Foley. And I could go on forever how much I don't like that title, considering many stories take place in The Great Cyber War, including what seems to be a sequel story to this one from the Tom Baker era, Revenge of the Cybermen. But I'll keep my complaining for this point to just that. The Doctor and Audacity land on a Vogan ship, a gold pyramid, and Audacity is basically kidnapped by a rebel assassin attempting to kill the scientist Oberon Fix, played by Keith Drinkle. The Doctor convinces Oberon to give him a security force to head down to the planet Voga and rescue Audacity, with the station administrator Galta, played by Trudy Goodwin. They find the rebel, Delatine, played by Diana Yakini, and her medic friend Melvin, played by James McCallum. Delatine is killed, and we learn that she was in league with the Vogans' enemy, the Cybermen, being the Gold Planet's enemy because they're allergic to gold. Or are they?
What a twist!
Part 1 ends with this discovery, and Paul McGann gets some great acting, angrily trying to convince that just because the Cybermen sound nice, and that the politics on Voga are starting to deteriorate, does not make them the good guys, which was an interesting place to see a companion's perspective of. Now on to the second part. The Cybermen bomb the planet, and Galta is killed by a Cybermat, hiding in her robotic leg, which was not something I saw coming. Her character did a very good job at being sympathetic, even with a brash personality. Really believable as she tells stories of past battles. The Doctor and friends make it back to the ship, running into another member of staff, Vrul, Nelvin's mother, played by Karen Archer. The family drama between the mother and son pays off well, but there were moments that started to grate. The Doctor leaves them to follow him once he gets the lift operational, and he meets Oberon, only to be greeted by a fully golden and tortured Cyberman. We get the reveal that the Cybermen at this point in time don't have their allergy to gold. The device Oberon was working on will give them this weakness, but will also kill all Vogans due to the gold in their blood, as it uses all nearby gold to work its magic. Oberon is killed by the Cybermen and the group reconvenes. Vrul is killed to get Audacity and her son back to the Doctor, and a confrontation begins as the Cybermen make their way to the Pulse. The Doctor sounds genuinely scared at this point, as both he and the Cyber Leader know that it needs to be activated for the future to come.
Tell me you've closed the airlocks. Tell me you've closed the airlocks.
All those people.
There was no need for such slaughter.
The waste of organic matter is unfortunate.
Well, you know what's really unfortunate is when I press this button, the golden pulse detonates.
We are told that the time travelers have been recreationally visiting Oberon to see his work, and one of these was converted, giving the Cyber Leader this knowledge. This Cyber Leader is predictably played by Nick Briggs, and this plot point retroactively explains a complaint many had about Revenge of the Cybermen, saying that the Cybermen in that story were too emotional. This story creatively solving it as saying that the Cyber War goes on, their emotional inhibitors start to degrade. As the Cyber Leader attempts to stop the pulse, in a fit of emotion, Nelvin activates it, the Doctor boosting it to knock Voga out of orbit to save the people on the planet, Nelvin dying in the process with the Cybermen. Next thing we know, Audacity wakes up on the TARDIS, healed from their adventure, and the Doctor takes us to a surprise cameo. Old companion Charlie Pollard, whose adventures I'm sure we'll cover at some point, played by India Fisher, and they choose to go off together to more festive pastures. This two-parter is a varied story, but I find myself very compelled by it. I listened to it as one whole story, so the scores won't be too varied. There was a lot good with the story, and not just the cameo at the end. As someone who watched Revenge of the Cybermen many times while young, I am always interested to see more of these Cybermen and the Vogans, and to see their history explored. I'm still wondering why the fuck in that story that they have the seal of Rassilon on one of their walls. All the characters were well written, and the sound design was notably better than the last episode. The background sound was meticulously crafted at points in the story, and the use of the chilling cyber theme, while maybe a little overused, really added to those select points. So I'll give The Great Cyber War by Tim Foley, Part 1 a 7.5 out of 10, and Part 2 an 8.5 out of 10. The second part had more action without devaluing any of the other stakes, and the first part wasn't a slouch either, just more focused on the politics and setting up the characters. That makes the story as a total rate an 8 out of 10. And with that, it makes the whole box set, Audacity, rate as a whole, a 7.6 out of 10. And I can't wait to see more from these characters. especially when Charlie is rolled into their dynamic. Thank you everybody so much for watching my review of Audacity. Please like the video if you liked it, comment down below if there's something you want me to make a video about, consider subscribing to the channel, and if you do, ring that notification bell so you're told every single time that I make an upload. Once again, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!
Toast. A little piece of toast. Because there's so much to choose from. There's brown bread, white bread, all sorts of wholemeal bread. It comes in funny packages with writing on the side.